She was a twin. Her sister passed away in the hospital from an infection. It's one of those things where we're actually engaged in litigation with the hospital because it was pretty blatant negligence. Like, I really do remember just trying to exist and survive.
Hello, welcome to Life Is It Just Me, the podcast where we talk about the things that we're all going through, we all have to deal with in life. My name's Paul. I'm joined today by Ryan and Jessica. Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you doing?
Really, really good. Ryan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. What about you, Paul? Nobody ever asks you.
I'm good. I know, well, this is what happens and you always do the intro, so what's to be expected?
That's right.
We're here to talk
show.
about having kids, having children. This is our focus for our season just now, our first season. Yes, we don't offer any judgment. We're just here to bring you some ideas and some stories and some experiences from people all around the world. And Jessica, that is why you are here. Tell us a bit about yourself, please.
I'm an American from the middle of America. And like I said earlier, let me just apologize on behalf of at least half of my country. I'm 34. I've been married for 9 years today, actually, is my anniversary.
Oh, congratulations.
So, yeah, thank you.
Oh, wow.
All I want
well,
is
thank
Biden
you for joining us.
and power at my house. So it's a short list.
I'm glad you mentioned the presidency because I was going to mention it, in case someone's listening to this and I don't know, 2027 or something. Right now, literally, we are awaiting the results of some key states for the 2020 presidential election.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It feels like it's been going on forever.
Nail biting.
Oh,
nail biting.
Yeah.
I don't have any left. But yeah.
Also, 100%. You mentioned the electricity in your house.
Yes. We just had a really terrible ice storm. So everything was frozen and the trees split and knocked down a lot of lines and half the city. This was last Tuesday. I haven't had power at my house since last Tuesday. So I have been living in a 1-bedroom condo that some friends of ours own. So we're very, very fortunate on our end. But I've also means I've been co-sleeping with a 4-year-old and do not recommend. 0 out of 10. Do not recommend. So I've been kicked. I have been slapped. I have been pushed. I don't know how people do that. So yes, that's where I'm at.
I guess that sets the scene quite nicely in that.
Well done, you.
You've told us a bit about who you are, and certainly you have a kid. You've got a 4-year-old, and tell us then about your life. You're 34 just now, and how old is your child?
She's 4. Okay. She's 4 now. So I had her in 2016 when the world was still good.
That's a reference to coronavirus, I believe. Or it could be the election, I don't know.
No, it's an election. It's an election dig. Yeah, when I still had hope. She was... she's wonderful most days. Most of the time, I would keep her. No, it's great. She was, as we've talked about, mentioned before, she was a twin. Her sister passed away in the hospital from an infection the day after she was born. So, and actually that is, it's one of those things where we're actually engaged in litigation with the hospital because it was negligence. I mean, it was pretty blatant negligence. So, so parenthood for me has been a mixed bag, really. Yeah, definitely. We thought we were have one and let's see. And then it was surprise 2. And then we were like, okay, we're done. And then it was grief and joy and, the tough times that you go through, as a new parent, just learning how to navigate that life because it's very different from your life before.
That's something that's come across in a lot of the conversations that Ryan and I've had. Ryan, you've spoken on previous episodes about your own life situation and having 2 kids of your own, and at my current where I am just now, 20, almost 29. Don't have kids yet, sort of in that quandary, will I, won't I, sort of thing. Which is why it's been so immensely helpful to get some of these ideas. We did say before that we would delve into some possibly uncomfortable places, possibly for you listening, possibly as well. And Jessica, I thought we could maybe start by talking as much as you're able and you want to about what it's like, what it was like finding out you were going to have twins, then giving birth to twins, and then eventually losing one.
Yeah. So, it happened really quickly. Like so I'm an attorney, and I was, my husband and I kind of knew that we wanted to have kids, I think, but I also wanted that license to practice law, like in my hand. I didn't want to be one of these, I didn't want to be studying for a bar exam, when I was pregnant. And so, but after that, I got pregnant really quickly, and it was very surprising. And I just remember I had some issues, and my doctor had me go in for a very early ultrasound, which is funny because it was on our anniversary. It was on November 6th. And I remember thinking like, all right, we're going to go out for dinner later. And I'm either going to be really excited or I'm going to be sad and I'm going to drink. But either way, there's something at the end of the tunnel. And so we're sitting in the room, and the girl goes, listen, if there's something to see, I'll show you. Okay. And so she's looking around, she's asking us, how long have you been married? Is this your first pregnancy? And all of a sudden she just stops and she goes, I'll be right back. And she leaves the room. And I looked at my husband like, this is bad. There's not, I'm just like prepping myself. And she comes back in, she turns the screen and she goes, okay, so we found a heartbeat. We actually found 2. And I'm thinking mine and the baby's, right? Like that equals 2. She turns the screen and she goes, so here's baby A and here's baby B. And I looked at my husband, and then I looked at the bathroom door thinking somebody was going to pop out and just yell, you've been punked. The only thing I could say for like the next 10 to 15 minutes was what the is happening. Literally, those were the only words that could form in my mouth. And I don't know if you're going to have to bleep that or whatever, but it was just
neither do we.
I assume
what's happening. Like how?
Oh, not
how
twice.
Is this real
Thanks.
life? You probably. Yeah.
I'm also loving the fact that Ryan's on an ever so slight delay. So we could do this for a few times, and it would take him just a few seconds for him to catch up.
Okay. So yeah, so it was just it was crazy. It was just crazy. So yeah, and it's it's nerve-wracking because I don't know if Ryan, as you have kids, I don't know if your wife had any experience with this, but loss is very common for women. It's not it's not rare. It happens a lot. And so I think, especially in like multiple pregnancies, and I think I was always expecting something to go wrong, so every time I went to the doctor and everything was fine, it just became more and more real of like, this is going to be your life. And, so it was exciting. I mostly had a pretty, uneventful pregnancy. I was very lucky. So up until the end, so I went to the hospital. I was preeclamptic. So my blood pressure when I went to the hospital was, I think, 200 over 110. I basically should have like stroked out and died. So I don't know. We don't really need to go into like, the details of like giving birth, but
sure.
They got there. And
no, please do. How does that work?
I ended up having a C-section, and the girls ask your wife.
I was there the whole time. I'm well acquainted with how that whole system.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Yeah,
didn't mean to
yeah.
interrupt.
So you're fine. So my girls went to the NICU. I was recovering, so my husband, who is right, you want to say hi, Chris?
Hi, Chris.
Hi, Chris.
They said hi. He went up to the NICU with them, and I stayed down in the hospital room. And
What's the NICU? Sorry, I'm not familiar with that term.
the neonatal intensive care unit.
Okay, thank you.
So, yep. So the NICU, and they just immediately started to have to put Lena, that was my daughter who passed away, and Nora is my living daughter. They had to put Lena on a CPAP, and things just kind of started going downhill. And we only found out later that they suspected that she had an infection, but they didn't give her antibiotics for 14 hours after they suspected that. So we, so that was tough. It was, you don't expect that to happen to you, because you go to hospitals where you trust doctors and you think people stay on top of things. And as a new mother who's never been in that position, new parents, my husband too, we didn't know the questions to ask. We didn't know. We didn't know what was going on. We didn't understand a lot of things. So yeah, that was, we only got to, hold her once. I held her as she passed, and my husband took her downstairs, and we did request an autopsy, and then she was buried 2 days later, and I was still in the hospital. We didn't go to her funeral. Frankly, it was just it would have been too much. So yeah, it's a very intense moment. And it's really, you join, two clubs that you never expected to join, and it's weird. I thought I was going to be a twin mom, and then I was, a grieving mom. So, it was, I really wouldn't wish it on anybody. It was bad.
Yeah. I mean, I've spoken to Paul.
Thank you so much for sharing so much. It's such a powerful story.
For us, our pregnancy was...
Then Nora was in the NICU for 3 weeks. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I'm on the delay, aren't I? I'm just interrupting everybody left, right, and centre.
Yeah, you've got quite a big delay. No, Ryan, go ahead. We'll sort this out afterwards.
No, I was just going to just offer my experience when we were having a baby. The exact same thing about trusting the hospital. We didn't know what to expect, and we just thought everything was going properly and swimmingly. And my son and wife both got an infection during the pregnancy, but because she'd been in labour for 72 hours, and they hadn't tried to progress it, if they just administered oxytocin, if we'd known at the time, that if we'd just requested that they give her oxytocin to move her on, she would have been fine. But because they didn't bother, they prolonged the whole thing. And they both ended up, obviously, with an infection. My wife almost bled out. I thought we were going to lose her at one point. And you just assume that it's just complications of pregnancy. But looking back and having had a second child, it was more than likely negligence, and just we didn't know any better. So...
Mm-hmm.
It's so interesting for me, having not experienced these things yet, possibly ever, I don't know, to hear similar stories in some ways. And I wanted to ask you, Jessica, having spoken about what you've just spoken about, when you think back to that time, you've just gone through what you've gone through. You've given birth to Nora, I think you said her name was. Is that her name? Is that right? And you've lost Lena. How does that feel to have those two polar opposites?
Um, it it was weird. You know, we Nora stayed in the NICU for 3 weeks, almost 3 weeks after that, and we would go up and visit her. Um, but they moved her room, but it was right next door to the room that Lena died in. Um, and like you have these moments of just sheer joy because you've still made this person, and you still look at them and see yourself, and you see your spouse, and you know, um, someone once explained to me that like having children was like having another heart that is just walking around outside of you. And that really is, you know, what it is. And so that love is just so unconditional and so strong. But then there would be these moments of just intense waves of grief that, you know, like it was just really hard. Nora shared a room with somebody in the NICU, and that baby's mother was there probably 8 hours a day. And I was just remembering to breathe and get out of bed and get dressed and go up there. And if I made it an hour or 2 hours, you know, I had to go home. And it was just, I didn't feel like a good parent, but I mean, but that time also wasn't a blur. Like I really do remember just trying to exist and survive. And it was very conflicting, very, very conflicting.
Interesting that you mentioned feeling the need, as you put it, to exist and survive at the same time whilst looking after a newborn child. Your energy must have been everywhere at once.
Yeah, it's you know, as Ryan knows, like newborns are not easy. But I
He
think
knows.
after mentally preparing ourselves for two, it didn't feel so difficult. You know, we, instead of just one of us getting up in the middle of the night, we both got up every single time, and we were each other's support. You know, and I would say it was just a quiet time. You know, there was a lot of reflection, and there was a lot of thinking about what we had been through, and you know, trying to be good parents to a baby that needed us and depended on us. And you know, my someone once said to me, like, I admire your strength, and like, and I just like, you know, my mom said to me once, she was like, you know, I'm just so amazed that you didn't give up. And it was like, what choice did I have? You know, like it's not a choice. Like what was I going to do? Just drop her off at my mom's house? And my mom was like, yeah, you could have, you know, other people out there would have.
I mean, postnatal
That just wasn't an
depression
option for
is
me.
a
I tried to
very
be a
real
good mom
thing.
to Nora, and
And you had so much more
yeah,
going
it
on top
definitely
of
is.
that.
Um,
So yeah, it's hard to reconcile how you dealt with that. You're a bit of a
yeah.
superhero, really.
Yeah, 100%. I was just thinking that. I really was.
Oh, thank you.
After what you've just said, I don't mean this to come across as in any way insensitive, but it's something that for me has crossed my mind, and I thought I would ask it. So I wonder if, having gone through what you've gone through, does Nora, does your living child, if that's the right way of putting it, ever serve as a constant reminder of what you've been through, or is that something that you're able to not move on from, but sort of separate? I wonder.
So it's a very good question, actually. And one of the so oddly enough, my brother had a loss. His wife went into early labor, and he lost a daughter at 26 weeks, which is, you know, he's also very religious, so like he dealt with his grief in a much different way than I did. But, you know, when the couple conversations that we had about it, you know, he said, like, you have a constant reminder, and you will always have a constant reminder. And it to some extent it is true. I mean, birthdays are hard. Milestones were hard, you know. For a long time, when I would get Nora dressed to leave the house and put her in a carrier, I could think of nothing but how I would have juggled two carriers, you know, or when I drew a bath, it would be, I would see an empty spot in the tub, you know, like there's always an empty chair at my table. But Nora brings me a lot of joy. You know, she's a wonderful, wonderful child, and I'm like really proud to be her mom. So it's just, you know, it's bittersweet. Everything.
The obvious
everything
one
is
for
just
me to ask
bittersweet.
you about was birthdays.
Thank you.
Just the thought of that constant reminder on a birthday that it's the same day of your loss. That's the same day you're celebrating. And I'm not sure I would be able to cope, if I'm honest. And I think that you're a very strong person for the mindset that you're putting across.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I will say that the girls were born on May 10th, and Lena actually passed on the 11th. So one of my, you know, I just thought, thank God it's not the same day, because, you know, but we've kind of decided that May 10th is Nora's day. And on, you know, we don't, it's almost too depressing to go to the cemetery on the 10th. So we always go on the 11th, and we call it Lena Day. And we try to do something that, you know, that we usually take the day off and try and find an activity that's, you know, comforting or reflecting, or, you know, something like that. So it's, you know, I know some people who have had losses too, that, you know, they always have a cake at the birthday party. I actually know we know one couple who, that we met through a loss support group, who also had a twin, pass in a much different way, you know, and they would do stuff like, you know, have cakes from at the party and do things like that. And I just, Nora knows about her sister. She knows she's missing her sister. She knows that we miss her sister. And I think that that's enough to put on a 4-year-old. So I've kind of let her have, you know, her space and her days.
Her day. It's an interesting way of looking at it, to almost separate them into 2 days. It seems almost seems comforting for someone who's just really getting to know you and your story. That almost makes me feel a bit warmer inside.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to like she's always going to kind of have that hanging over her, and it's not like I'm not subconsciously thinking about both of my girls on their birthday, or I'm not, you know, wishing Lena a happy birthday in my head, or you know, but outwardly, like, you know, I mean, there's not a right answer, you know.
No.
There's not there's not a right thing to do, and we've just done the best we can.
It sounds like
know?
you've done awesome.
Of course. And I was going to save this for later.
It does.
It does. It definitely does. I was going to save this for later, but just because you brought it up just now, you mentioned Nora being aware of and knowing at 4 years old that she has a sister. And how did you arrive at the decision to tell her? Was that an easy decision? Was that something that you and your husband discussed? Did you have simmering different opinions? How did that go?
We decided really early on that we weren't going to pretend that Lena didn't exist, and we weren't going to hide it from Nora. Like, we both knew that. And you know, and also the other thing is, and I don't know, you know, I don't know that you guys would know this, but couples that lose children, have like almost something like an 80% chance of getting divorced.
Wow.
Just because, people grieve in such different ways, and it's such a distinctively difficult type of loss. It just disrupts the natural cycle of life, So, we also made a promise to each other that if we were thinking about her, or if we were having, one of those days and said, "What's wrong?" instead of nothing, like we wouldn't say nothing. We wouldn't just push it under the rug and pretend that things were fine, because things are not fine when that happens to you, So very early on, we would take Nora to the cemetery when we would go visit, and we would try to explain things. And there were some really tough conversations. She would ask if Lena was sleeping, and, why there was a rock on top of her, and, how is she going to get out if there's a rock on top of her? And there was a lot of, she's slowly come to understand that, like, no, people don't come back, and Lena's not just sleeping, but that we can love her from here. And, in Judaism, we take rocks out to the cemetery. So whenever we go somewhere, we'll look for rocks to take to Lena, or Nora will come home with something from school. Like, they painted rocks one time, and she said, "I made this for Lena," and so, no, we're very much open about it.
Okay. A fascinating insight. Ryan, I know you're on ever so slight delay, so I want to give you a little bit of chance to react before we move on.
Loads to say, but I don't know. I've always got lots to say. That's my problem. And maybe the internet connection is good. It's making me listen instead of talk too much. No, but I just think, yes, you guys have done an amazing job. Honestly, I've got two kids, and I don't know how I would. It doesn't even bear thinking of, like, that kind of loss. We have had that loss in the family. My mom had a very late pregnancy with a new husband, and she had complications and ended up with a stillbirth. So the difficulty for her was she never ever got a birth certificate or anything, because they deemed that she hadn't taken a breath, so therefore she never existed. And my mum couldn't cope with that in the slightest. So I've seen it from outside, but not experienced.
I'm so sorry.
But no, just seeing how strong you have been as a family, and listening to your daughter trying to reconcile that whole thing, it's really empowering. It's really kind of wonderful, to be honest. Just how great you've handled it. And
thank you.
And just to add as well, my own experience, I had an aunt. I remember probably in my youth, maybe as a young teenager, my aunt went through a similar thing to what you've just said, Ryan. So going back to what you said earlier, Jessica, about how common it actually is, and perhaps you listening as well maybe can relate, you maybe yourself or know someone, and it does seem to be something that so many people go through. So it's great to have the conversation as well.
Yeah.
Let's take a short break, if you don't mind, just for a minute or two.
Okay.
No.
Perfect.
You recording, Ryan?
I am, yes, thank
Awesome.
you. And it's nice to be with you at this time instead of like
Yes.
some kind of crazy satellite delay.
It definitely is. I know it truly is like a Zoom call that way.
It was really hard for me because I was like, I can't interrupt.
I know. I was saying that during the break as well to Jessica. I was like, Ryan often has so much to say. It's great to have him, but I was so cautious of saying too much. And but anyway, we're good. Okay.
Well, we have a whole nother segment now, so
I know.
talk about whatever you want to
the tone of this segment is going to be a lot different, just because I can actually react.
I think I'll just mute myself. I'll just go. I'll let you guys just be a two-man show. All right. So Jessica, we've spoken a lot about your journey up to this point, and you've shared with us such amazing insight into how you've coped with unthinkable circumstances. Our idea for this podcast came about to try and talk about the thoughts and the feelings, the emotions that go along with having kids, and we met online through Reddit, where you were talking about potentially having another child. So I want to sort of delve into that, if you will. Firstly, Do you feel that you needed or need, I guess, 4 years to between your loss and your first birth to get to this point, or was that something that happened for a different reason? Or
Um, yeah, I mean, short answer, yes. Um, about 6 months after um, the girls were born and I lost Lena, I did get pregnant again, and I miscarried. Here's the interesting thing: my headspace was really, I can fix this, right? Like, I can fix this if I can just have another one. I was supposed to have two. I need two. Like, that's what's wrong. Um, and I just think there was a lot of things going on there. I don't think my body was ready to be pregnant again. It had been through trauma, and um, so I think after that, I was just like, I need a break. I need to heal. I need to raise my daughter. And then, yeah, so it took 3.5, 4 years to get to a point now where we've kind of said to each other, like, I think this is, this feels right now. So,
did that time arrive at the same time for both of you, or do you feel one of you was ready before the other?
um, I think we were on pretty similar timelines. There was definitely a big period in there where we said, um, that we were done, just because I didn't think that I had the mental capacity to go through all of that again. Um,
It's understandable, really, though.
yeah, right. Because it's a lot, even when nothing bad happens. I mean, it's a lot of stress, and it's stress on you and stress on your body and on your family. And, um, it was always a fight, I think, because the thought of Nora being alone when she was never supposed to be alone,
Yeah.
was really weighing on me. But then I would think, but that's not a reason to have a kid, you know? Or it would be I need another one because I was supposed to have two. That's not a reason to have a kid. Um, so I think it was an evolution of feeling out what the wrong reasons were until I came up with the right reasons, if
What are
that
the
makes
right
sense.
reasons? What do you think are the right reasons now?
Um, I think I kind of realized that, like, I have love in my heart for another child that I haven't met yet.
Yeah.
Like, I'm always like, having another child doesn't mean I'm going to forget Lena, and it doesn't mean I've moved on. Like, it doesn't have to mean that,
Yeah.
but just that if I have another child, I want that child for that child and not because I'm missing something else in my life.
Yeah, I think that would have been something that would weigh on my mind, and obviously your mindset seems way more positive than mine would be in the same situation. But I would always be second guessing myself, wondering whether or not I was trying to replace that space or that person, or for that reason. And I assume you've been through that thought process yourself, but um, I don't know. Again, I think you're a bit of a superhero because I don't know if I could go through the same thought process. And
Well, but you already have, because that's what you're saying, and those are the same. It's the same thought process I had, and, like, part of the reason that we waited is because we didn't want to bring a child into the world as a replacement for someone else.
yeah,
Because that's not fair to them.
yeah, it's understandable. But some people might not have been as self-aware and have made that same choice. They might have just gone straight into it without a lot of thought. And I think that again just shows the power of the strength in you that you have waited. I mean, 4 years is arguably not a long time, a gap between like two children, for example. Some people wait a lot longer before they have another child. So it shows, I think, your resolve and your strength as well as a family that after such what you could call a short time, 4 years, that you're ready to be in that headspace again. And again, it just kind of you're an impressive person. That's my point of view anyway.
Thank you.
I want to take you back to something that you said just a moment ago, Jessica, that stuck with me so much that I've written it down so I can read it out, what I think is verbatim. And it almost comes back to the crux of why we want to do this podcast, or certainly why I want to do this season. And you spoke about having, I think, word for word, space in your heart, space in my heart, for another child, is what you said. And I think that struck me so much because I'm in the place right now, as I said earlier, not that far off 30, and I don't know what I want to do. I don't know where I want to go. And I mentioned to you before, I teach in a secondary school, and that takes up a huge amount of my life and my energy in a good way. You know, I've so much passion for what I do, and I work with children, young people 5 days a week, and I don't know, I'm conflicted. I feel like I do have the space, and then I feel like I don't have the space, and I just kind of want to delve into your how you arrived at that point.
That's but here's the thing, is that you will have space. No, really. I mean, they say that, like women become mothers, like as soon as they become pregnant, like yes. It just is inherent. And fathers become fathers when they see that kid for the first time, and it becomes very, very real. And my husband is one of these guys that just, he's like a deer in the headlights. It takes him so long to like get used to an idea. We just bought a new car, and he was just like, he wouldn't almost talk to me for a week because he was so like terrified at the amount of money that we just spent, and like now he loves it, and he just zooms around town, and like, but it took him a while. And, so, he was, when he found out we were having twins and everything, it was just like, I'd look at him all the time and be like, is this okay? Like, what was he going to do about it? But,
what's he going to do about it?
Yeah. Too late now. But, like, are you okay? Like, is this okay? But, like May 10th, 2016, like his whole world changed. And whether he wasn't sure that there was room or, his heart made it. He had no choice. You just fall in love, and I'm not going to lie, you give up certain things when you become a parent. You give up certain freedoms. My favorite is people who have, pets and dogs. Oh, this is my furry baby, my furry animal. And it's like,
I've no idea.
Like, no, thank you. Thank you. Like,
I've got cats. It's not the same thing. I can put some food down and walk out and not see them for a couple of days. I can't do that with my kids. It would be frowned upon.
Right. When it's legal for me to kennel my child and just like,
yeah, exactly.
Then let's talk. It's just, so yeah, like things are more difficult. And that was definitely something that we thought about. America is probably one of the worst countries that you can become a parent in. Parental leave is a joke. Daycare is ridiculously expensive because there's no parental leave. It definitely makes life a lot harder. But it's worth it.
We're a little bit better off over here because we do have parental leave, but we get it as well. Like I could take time off. I could share it. Yeah, I could share it. Mm-hmm. I did for my firstborn. I shared it with my wife. She had already said that she was going back to work and she was only going to take half the time period. So I stayed off for the other half of the time period with my son. And then I ended up being just dad. I didn't go back to work. I became the main caregiver in the house.
Oh, my husband would love it. He says that's his dream.
Right. It has its moments. I'm not lying. What I would want to say to Paul is, you've got space in your heart, but maybe not space in your professional life yet. You've not made that headspace. You've clearly, obviously thinking about it. So the space is in your heart, but I would say that it's probably the logistics stuff that's not fallen into place for you yet. I will say this though, when it happens, you have no choice. You just get ready.
Well, yeah, I've been told, I've seen it firsthand. Jessica, I delving really deep here, and a really philosophical question for you, but how did you both, your husband and yourself, know now or roundabout now that this is what we want to do? Are we pretty sure this is what we want to do? Have another child?
Do you want an honest answer?
Yeah, go on, please. Yeah.
You're not sure. Is that the honest answer?
No. Well, that's a good point. Like, you're never really sure. And that's really what it comes down to is, you can do all the financial planning, all the bucket list travel. You can do all of that and still not be ready. And it's kind of a, get ready to bleep again, but it's a get off the pot situation. Like, you either do it or you don't, because I think if you think too much about it, you won't do it, Now
all I'm thinking about is the movie Clerks. That's where you put my headspace. So,
It's just gone over my head.
Yeah. But also, like, some truth here is that my husband is 7 years older than me. So he's 41. And as my doctor so lovingly reminded me, I am not 21 anymore.
Thanks for that.
And
thanks. Yeah.
Yes, I really appreciated that.
I'm sure you did.
And so it kind of became one of those things where, if we're going to do it, let's just do it, because we're not getting any younger. And if we're, why not? So yeah, there's a little bit of, just reality kind of sets in, because I probably, you say I'm a superhero, but, like, honestly, I probably could have waited 10 years and still, like,
been wondering if you were ready.
Yeah. Like, I'm always going to wonder if I'm ready. Like, a part of it just doesn't really go away. You just have to decide. There's a moment, there was a moment, after you take the test, it comes back positive, that I was just like, what did I do? What did I do? And there are still some times when Nora's having a tantrum or, just is being a monster. And I'm like, what did I do? Why do I want to do this again?
It's interesting you say you shouldn't overthink it, because now I'm sort of wondering whether making a podcast about it was the best idea or not. But anyway, too late.
We're a bit, again, it's a bit late for that, Paul.
Yeah. Maybe if you told me that a month ago, Jessica.
But it's not too late to just throw caution into the wind. You know how it works. You just got to do it.
Again, how does that work, Jessica?
Oh, should we?
I'm getting my bleeper button. Where did I put it?
Let's talk about all the other things that Americans are bad about teaching.
Does Nora know?
I don't think that's just America.
Yeah, that's a good point. Does Nora know that this is on your mind, or is that a conversation that's not come up yet, or is ever going to come up?
It will. She doesn't know that this is kind of what we want now. Nobody knows except for you guys.
Wow. And the internet by now.
Let's not put this out really early then. Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. The thing is that we don't want to get our hopes up. We don't want to get anybody else's hopes up. Like some of the things that I've heard Nora say, I don't want to disappoint, So I think even if we do get pregnant, and I probably won't tell her for a while until I feel good about things, but she'll be so excited.
I bet.
She is she loves to baby things. She pretends to do all the mommy stuff. So
my daughter is exactly the same. Yeah.
What is it? Like, what did I do?
we did not push that on her at all.
No.
It's built in. We've got a boy and a girl, and they're completely different. And he could not care less about animals and people with it. He's more like, can I play Pokemon? Okay. But,
just like his dad then.
Come on now. You're letting too many of my secrets out.
We dressed Nora in gender neutral clothes and gave her toy hammers, and she was just princesses and pink and dresses.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know where
how
it
did I
comes
make
from.
that?
We did not push any gender roles on
Yeah.
either of our kids, and we did get a bit of outside influence on that, where it's like grandparents would be like, "You have to wear this dress. You know, you're not allowed to wear a dress, Jackson.
Yeah.
You're not allowed." And we're like,
Oh,
if he wants to wear
yeah.
a dress, let him wear a tutu, whatever. I don't care, as long
Yes.
as he's happy. So we have never ever pushed any gender roles on any of our kids, but they have fallen quite happily into the boy who plays with his cars and his Lego, and the girl who's got the princesses in the castle, and we have not pushed that in any way. So
It's an
Fascinating.
interesting study into nature
It is.
versus
So is.
nurture.
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah, definitely an interesting study, because I thought we were doing a good job of not influencing that, and it's just happened.
Why do I feel
Oh,
another
yeah.
idea for a podcast season coming on? Let me just write that down. Nature versus.
Nature versus nature.
I mean, it's so true. It's so true. I mean, Nora will say stuff like, boys can't have long hair. And I'm like, yes, they can. Girls can have short hair.
Yeah.
Boys can wear dress. I mean, and she has a good friend at school who like dressed up as Elsa for Halloween. A little boy like dressed up like Elsa. And I just love that I have friends who like
We're strong enough to let that happen.
definitely
Yeah.
To be honest,
like they're so supportive of like their kids, no matter their age. They're just like, this is who they are, and that's fine, you
I
know.
love that. Yeah.
As
So,
do I.
yeah.
Jessica, do you have any fears going forward about possibly having another child?
Yeah, that I'll regret it.
You just put my mind at ease, and now it's going mad again.
You know, here's the thing. Here's what really kind of put me at the starting line of number 3, I guess technically.
Yeah.
Is you know, I have moments all the time with Nora that I think, why did I do this? You know, I don't have the freedom that I used to have. Life is more expensive. It's harder, but it's fuller. And I love her so much. And she's just such a joy. And she's a wonderful, wonderful human being. And I just get so excited about the prospect of like watching her grow and nurturing whoever it is that she's going to be. And I think about, you know, that I could do that again. And I'm going to have those regrets again. I'm going to have tantrums in the middle of the supermarket where I'm
so
just
your children as well. Not just
yeah. Yeah. Where I'm just like, I could have had a different life, you know, but, I'll
look at
never,
everybody. That's the thing.
but I'll never regret doing it. You know, like I'll never regret that child. Like there's always going to be regrets, but I would regret it more if I didn't do it. You know, I would always look back and I think I would be a little bit more empty. And I think that's where I'm at, is that, yeah, I'm going to have regrets. I mean, yeah, it's going to happen. But I'd have more if I didn't.
Yeah. So you've tipped the scales in this in favor of having a child.
Yeah.
Simple as that, really.
Yeah. That makes sense in my head. I can see the scales. That, you know, that works for me. It does.
You listed the pros and cons quite clearly there, and you've made your mind up. But
yeah.
And the thing is, that's very personal to you, because other people, even listening to this or in different stages of their lives, will have a different set of priorities and a different scale to use, and different things on each side. You laid that out really quite easy for people to see where your head's at and what you're thinking, which is perfect for what we're trying to achieve here.
100%, yeah.
So.
You mentioned earlier, Jessica, about initially worrying about perhaps trying to rebalance it and compensate having another child as a result of having lost a child. Do you worry that is happening again, or do you feel that you've moved on from that?
That's another double-edged sword, right? Because I don't know that I would want another one had Lena lived. So that's always kind of there in the back. But this idea of fixing something that can't be fixed, that's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you can't really do the what ifs on that. You might have had the same thought process 4 years later if you hadn't had the trauma for 4 years ago. You might still be here going, do you know what? I'm ready now. I'm in a space where I've got more to give or more love to give, and there's still more space in my heart. The way you worded it.
You know what I do think about sometimes? About having another one is I think of things, I love to travel, and I think of things in terms of plane tickets. And I realize now that I'll have to get more than one, like 3-row bench. Like we'll have to be separate now.
Oh, yeah.
Have to send one parent here and one parent there. And
we've done that traveling with the 5 of us in this family. And that's a pain in the butt.
Yeah.
Sorry
unless you're international and you can get the whole middle row. But
well, this is true.
We have done that once. It's still a pain in the butt.
Kids on airplanes in
it's
general.
Other people's children on the plane that I usually complain about. We did have a little girl on the plane who just wanted to speak to her mum, but her mum just had her headphones in watching TV. So she was speaking to her mum, but the rest of us were the ones that were actually listening. And I was just like, will you please just answer your daughter? She just wants some validation. Like, and the whole plane, you could just hear the whole plane just doing this.
I can picture it right now. I might have been on that flight as well. I'm sure I've experienced something similar.
She was watching something on TV and she was just like, hey mummy. She was very Glaswegian, which might not mean anything to you, Jessica, but I'm sure that's pictured. She had a very strong, thick accent, and every 2 seconds it was just like, hey mummy. And we were just like, please, will you answer? So she can stop asking.
That's hilarious.
So the plane travel doesn't change, Jessica. I'm sorry.
That's good to know, I guess.
And
you never judge anybody's parenting. Well, no,
is it hard not to
take that back?
I take that back. I no longer see screaming children in Target and go like, why can't you just control your kid? Because
never
I don't either. My child.
I just think, I feel for you. More like I know where I've been there.
I have actually said to other mothers that you got this, and you'd be amazed at their whole demeanor changes, because when you're a mom and when you're a parent and you're standing there and your kid is misbehaving in public, you're just looking around like everybody's judging me and I'm drowning in an ocean of tantrum. And when somebody just looks at you and is like, I've been there, I know, and you got this. It just changes.
I've just scooped up a child and walked them outside and just been like,
sometimes,
we are not going anywhere until this stops. We're gonna stay right here.
Have you seen all the memes of why my toddler's crying or throwing a tantrum?
I haven't, but I'm sure I need to know.
Likewise. You need to Google these. It's someone would took a picture of their kid having a tantrum, and my kid's having a tantrum because I won't let him swim. It's 6 degrees out and he can't swim.
Yeah, you're a terrible parent for keeping that child safe.
Right. And it's that pretty much explains toddlerhood right there.
It really does.
Yeah,
we just, do you know what? I had a magical moment just before we came onto this call. I shared Singing in the Rain, the movie, with my kids. Now, as most people are like, an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old really not going to want to watch Singing in the Rain, but it's one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love that movie.
No, we have to do this. So I had to stop it at times to explain what was going on, but I feel like I had a magical moment with the kids because they were all singing in the rain and Good Morning. So I was like, we've done it. I've done it. I win today.
Completed it.
What was their favorite though? Was it Good Morning or Make 'Em Laugh? Because Make 'Em Laugh is probably
well, I warned him before we started. I kind of was like, he's the kind of dashing hero and she's his love interest, and the guy in the end, he's hilarious, so you have to keep an eye on him. And the Make 'Em Laugh scene is obviously brilliant, and they were like, why is he being silly, daddy? Because obviously I'm always like, stop being silly. Why is he being so silly, daddy? He's dancing on the floor. And And then once they got used to the fact that it was okay for him to be silly in this movie, they were just laughing so much. It was great.
Oh, that's wonderful.
that
I
sounds
love
good.
that.
That is so
Honestly,
good.
I had a magical moment, so I thought I'd share that with you because we're
Yes.
talking about the tantrums. I wanted to balance it out with
Yes.
something just
The scales
wonderful.
have tipped again.
Yeah,
Can
we have
picture
brought
them
the
in my
balance
head.
back. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and those moments are the
Yeah.
moments you kind of live for. And I think,
Mm-hmm.
again, I keep calling you a superhero, but you've gone through all of that, come out the other side, possibly stronger. I don't know. Battle scarred, definitely, but ready to take on a new challenge. Would that be fair?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the positive, now the positive moments outweigh the negative, and it's worth it.
Yeah.
It'd be worth it, I think.
4
I don't
years
know.
old is a good age.
Call me
as
in a
well.
couple of years and see.
Yeah,
Don't tell us that because we will do it.
We will. We'll keep you.
I mean,
file.
I can't wait. I cannot wait for your follow-up pod on like the where are they now?
We said this before. It's going to happen. It's got to.
It's gonna
I think
happen.
we're gonna have to follow up with everybody from season 1.
I know.
This
I know. Such an insight, isn't it?
It's been a really, really good kind of interesting thing. I don't know if all the topics we've got on the list are going to be quite as insightful as some of these conversations we've had.
I'm not sure, but well, if we have guests that are even half as good as Jessica's been, I think it'll be
thanks,
pretty
guys.
good. This has been so good. It really
Honestly,
has.
it's been really kind of. I want to thank you for being such a positive person.
Me
just,
too.
I think you'll have put things into perspective for more than one person.
100%. Well, I'm one, and I'm sure there are
two,
other
so
people
there you
listening.
go.
Oh, there you go. Even if no one else is even listening, there you go. 2 people.
You've already done well.
Well, I'll just leave you with this: that infant loss is probably one of the hardest things that people can go through, because you expect to lose grandparents or parents or something, but you never expect to lose your kid. But if it does happen to somebody, like, I hope you guys put some resources in there, because it's a kind of grief that it takes a village to get through it. And
who was
people,
your support network during the whole thing?
I mean, my mom and my husband, and I mean, we had a rocky few years in there too, and I think that's part of the reason that it took us so long. People grieve differently, and it affects you differently. But I also got involved with the Miss Foundation, which is a foundation here in the States that deals with grief of all kinds, but infant loss, a lot of child loss, and my mother was just wonderful. And then we had that couple that we met who had kind of been through the same thing. And it's just a very unique position to be in, So, you can't do it alone. It feels like you're alone, but you can't do it alone.
I understand what you're saying. And I think anybody who that strikes a chord with will understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
100%. Thank you so much. This has been,
you're welcome.
It's been wonderful. It really has. And we wish you all the best, and hopefully speak to you again at some point, see where you are.
Yeah, get in contact once your situation's changed again. Give us an update.
Round 2.
Okay. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
Take care. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
You guys do the same.
We will.
Thanks, Jessica.
All right.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hi, this is Ryan. Thanks for checking out Life Is It Just Me? Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and also on YouTube for the video version. And come over and check out our website, which is lifeisitjust.me, for all our latest info and updates. And thanks again. We'll see you soon.